This is by far my favorite module, and by the time we're done, I hope it is your favorite too. Your story is your story, and no one can take that away from you. And if you tell it correctly, it has the potential to make or break your application. I believe undoubtedly that my ability to tell my story about my love for entrepreneurship and articulate my passions helped me tremendously in getting into Stanford, and I believe that it can help you get into your dream school too. If you don't think you know what your story is, that's okay. This module is designed to help you uncover it. Your story doesn't have to be perfect. My application included everything from my love for pancakes to my struggles of being a soccer player to my disorderly room. But it was my story, and your story has the power to captivate anyone that you're willing to share it with. So, find your voice, share your story, and tell it unapologetically. I'll see you inside Module 2. Hello everyone. So today we are going to be talking about my favorite module, which is the module on telling your story. This is my favorite one, so we're just going to jump right in, but we're going to be focusing on the 5 steps for you to find your story and tell your story in your application through your essays and your extracurricular activities. It's such an important concept, one that I don't think gets enough time because it can really make or break your application, and it is the thing that is going to help you stand out from other applicants and speak volumes and really connect with your admissions officer. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So, first step is a brain dump. I love brain dumps because you're able to get everything in your head out onto a piece of paper and really look at what you have. And in this case, we're going to be brain dumping on everything about you. So you're going to start with a blank sheet of paper, set a timer for 10 minutes, and write everything that you possibly can to describe you. So if I did not know you and I was asking you to describe yourself, what comes to mind? And I listed out a few questions here in order to guide your brain dumping process, and you will be doing this in the activities. After the module, we have a worksheet to guide you through this process, but let's run through those questions now. So 1, what do I do outside school? So your extracurriculars, how you spend your free time, what you love to do outside of school, which we'll talk about in our next module. 2, what am I passionate about? This is huge. It doesn't have to be something geeky like computer science. If you're passionate about feminism, if you're passionate about global warming and the environment, if you're passionate about children, anything, it can be whatever you're passionate about, but the important thing is that you know what you're passionate about and that you're speaking about it in your application. What experiences have I had? So if you've had something tragic or wonderful happen to you, those big experiences that have shaped your life, that have shaped the way that you interact in this world today. What trips have I taken? If you've gone on any mission trips, or once again, things that really made an impact on you in your high school career. How do I identify myself? So if there's any big identities, whether that is your race, your sexuality, your gender, anything that you feel like you wouldn't be yourself without, something that you really feel that defines you, then you want to include that because it is a big part of your story. What do I want to do in the future? If you have ideas of what you want to do in the future, this is a great place to get those out on that paper, because colleges love to see students who are able to connect their passions now in what they want to do in the future and their mission really to impact the world using their passions. What's important to me? Obviously a huge part of your story, whether that's your family, whether that's a certain passion of yours that you want to write about, whatever that is. What's important to me? What makes me myself? I love this question. What would you not be yourself without? So characteristics, personality traits, anything, whether you're extroverted, whether you're really quiet, whether you love to read, whether you're a leader, whatever it is, what makes you you? What do I love to do? Such an important question, something that's overlooked. Write down anything you love to do, whether that's going to the beach, hanging out with friends. It doesn't have to be something that you would think colleges want to know, but we're really just trying to get all of your ideas out here. And then what impact do I want to have in the world? A really important question here that is going to be able to shape really your essays and your extracurricular activities, and it shows vision to admissions officers. And so it's so good if you do know or you haven't thought about it, this is a great time to know. Okay, so we've brain dumped. We have a paper right for that whole 10 minutes. I know you're probably going to start out really, really fast, get a lot of ideas down on paper, and then maybe it comes to a dull. That's normal. You just want to keep going for the whole 10 minutes, even if you're just writing down maybe one thought per minute towards the latter half of the time frame. You want to write for that full 10 minutes so that we're dumping everything that is possibly in your brain out. Okay, step 2, patterns, passions, and important events. So now that you've written down everything, you probably have a lot of things on paper, and you want to start to group the things that you have on the paper in patterns, themes, or passions. So start to notice anything that you're seeing is similar within the things that you wrote down. So whether that's education. Education was a huge thing for me, whether I did my graduation project on education, obviously I run this tutoring company, obviously I like teaching, I've volunteered in schools, right? So that was a common theme for me. Another passion for me was women's rights and entrepreneurship. Obviously, I've done a lot of business related things as well. So just start drawing those connections there between the things that you have written down on your paper, and this will help you develop your themes, which is our next most important slide. Identify 3 to 5 themes for your application. So themes for your application are so important because they are really going to guide your application and give it some character, I guess you could say, or structure for the admissions officer to see. So we almost want to think of our themes as something that you want the admissions officer to remember about you. So remember, they're reading thousands of students' applications, so they're not going to remember every minute detail of your application, from the fact that you volunteered in this program when you were 12 years old to the fact that you're student body president, right? Like, it all is going to start to blend together, but you want them to take away certain big ideas about you as an applicant and you as a student, something about your story that you really want them to hold on to. And so that is why we develop themes for the application, so that your application is focusing on the big ideas of your story and who you are as a student. Okay, so based on the patterns you've identified, pick 3 to 5 general themes. This is what you want the admissions officer to remember about you and take away from your application. So for example, with my application, the themes of my application were entrepreneurship, education, and service, while my minor themes were soccer and my experiences of being a Black woman. So with all my essays and extracurriculars, you can see these themes. And so your themes are going to stretch across your whole application and encompass everything that you talk about and everything that you put down on that application. I highly recommend having something like service as a theme, even if you are not a huge volunteer. Like me personally, I'm not, but my mission and my purpose, I feel like, is to serve. And so through entrepreneurship and education, I have been able to serve. And that is part of my mission statement, which we're going to talk about in a minute, which is really going to wrap up your whole story. But you want themes that are going to represent you, themes that are going to be powerful, and themes that you can really write about, and that you can connect to your story throughout high school. Okay. Now you're going to align your essays and extracurricular activities with your story. So, you want to really create a cohesive story with your essays and your activities in line with your passion. So colleges love to see students acting upon their passions, tongue twister, in their extracurricular activities and in your essay. So they want to see how you are really embedding your passion into your everyday life. And when you are able to do that through your essays and activities, then you create a cohesive story about you as an applicant. And if there's one thing about a story, it's easy to remember and it's powerful and it's something that the admissions officer can grasp onto for you as a student. So obviously my story was, I was really passionate about education. I started this business at my high school. It grew to the community and I uncovered a passion for entrepreneurship, and now it's what I want to do with my life, right? So that's basically my story, and you can see that in my essays and my extracurricular activities. I wrote my Common App essay, which we talked about in the first module on entrepreneurship. My activities are in line with education. So I have this one cohesive story for my application. Share your story, write about what you're passionate about, and don't be afraid to be vulnerable. I shared everything in my application, from the fact that I've struggled with my race and identity in middle school, to the fact that I have a messy room. That was my notorious letter to your roommate Stanford essay. I wrote about how I'm addicted to pancakes. I eat them every morning, and I have a very messy room, and I have a very complex personality. I told the admissions officers also in my Stanford application that I wasn't the best at soccer, that I was pretty mediocre or average, and how that taught me hard work, because I had to work hard to develop that skill. It was not something that came to me naturally. But I was vulnerable in all of these aspects. Don't try to be the perfect applicant, just try to be yourself. Because when you try to come off as the perfect applicant, you're not being true to you. You look like a carbon copy, and admissions officers can really see right through it. So focus on yourself and your truth, and don't be afraid to be vulnerable, because those stories that you've held maybe to yourself all of your high school career are really going to be powerful in a college application, and I encourage you to share them. And I encourage you to share them with me as well, as I'm reading through and editing your essays and getting to know you as a student. One of the things that I found, and that they said to me as I toured Ivies across the country, whether it was at Harvard or Yale, I think they said that at Stanford too. They always say this at the college admissions talks. If you dropped your application in the middle of your high school, would your friends be able to trace it back to you? That's how much of you should be in your application. If people read your application, they should automatically know it's you. If they think it's just like a general student, but it doesn't have your voice in it, then you're doing it wrong. You want to insert as much of yourself into the application as possible. Obviously, you still want to come across as articulate and intelligent, and develop your thoughts and ideas in a professional way, which I will help you all do. But you want all of you to be in that application. You do not want to come across as just generalized, because there's thousands of students that they're reading their applications, like I said again, and you want something in there that's going to make you stand out, and they really want to know about you as a person and a student, and how that you're going to benefit their institution. So I put some example profiles up here that I think are great examples, so I can sort of show you guys how you're going to pair your themes for your application with your activities and your essays. So let's look at Jessica. Jessica's themes are computer science, being a musician, and spoken word. So how those align with her activities. So For a musician, I had, marching band down there, self-created music groups, and maybe she created a band, her and her band perform at little local gigs around town. That's great. It shows leadership. It shows her being proactive, and really taking part in her community, which is awesome. And it shows her passion for music, not only in her school, but also with her friends and in her community. Computer science. So say that she did some summer program at Brown. I did a program at Brown in 7th grade. That's why I put that there. But it can really be any institution as long as it's an academic program that here would focus on computer science and show her passion for computer science. Say she's the president of the local chapter of Girls Who Code. That's amazing. It shows leadership and once again her passion for computer science. Volunteers the annual summer program, focus on invention. For elementary school students, this shows leadership, passion, and most importantly, service. So always, if you are sort of looking for which activities to include ones that show service, because it shows that you're community minded, which is something that colleges really appreciate, and they're seeing that you're using your passions to help and benefit others, which is something that this world needs a lot more of. Spoken word, she writes spoken word pieces and poetry, whether she performs that in school or in the community. That shows her passion for writing and spoken word. Founder and president of the Open Mic Club at high school. We'll talk about this more in extracurriculars, but leading and starting new activities is so important for colleges. And if you all have not done something yet, I highly encourage you to do it your senior year. It's not too late, but it looks so good on a college application, and it's a great way for you to embark on your passions and then connect them to your themes of your application. For her Common App prompt, let's say that she chose prompt number 2, which was the prompt based on overcoming struggles and adversity, and talked about the overcoming her struggles of learning how to code and that process and everything like that. That speaks to her theme of computer science. And then her supplemental essays for her schools could include an original writing piece from spoken word, her specific interests within computer science. And then this last statement here is connecting to the future and the impact she wants to have on the world, which is something I preach for you guys to have in mind, which is expanding the field of computer science to encompass women and minorities more, right? So that's a mission, that's a passion, and that's something that colleges are going to love to see, because it shows that you have vision and it shows that you're really using your passions to impact this world, which is the big idea. Okay, that's Jessica. Let's look at Chris. Chris is a YouTuber. He's passionate about entrepreneurship, and he's passionate about political science. Notice that both Jessica and Chris have their themes are not always in line, like computer science, spoken word, like maybe not two things that you would think would go together, but that's how we are as students, right? We like certain things, whether that's like soccer and then something else like astrophysics, right? Whatever it is, put it down there. If it's your passion, then run with it. So activities. He's a YouTuber, right? He has a YouTube channel created and managed with weekly videos. This is an example of how you can use your passions and get creative, and they don't have to be the standard extracurricular activities that we see over and over again, like volunteering and doing boring stuff. You can have a YouTube channel, and that can show leadership and service as long as it's executed well. Entrepreneurship, how he's connecting that theme through his activities, YouTube videos about marketing and entrepreneurship. He monetizes his YouTube channel, and then attended, once again, a summer program at UPenn. Summer programs are great. They show colleges that you're embarking on your passions even during the summer. So that's a great addition there. His passion for political science, volunteering on a local campaign, that's a great activity if you're passionate about politics. And it shows leadership and, once again, service. Seeing a pattern here yet. president of the Young Democrats or Young Republicans Club. Once again, leadership, showing leadership in their school, and organizing a student march, something that would be a great leadership activity and a great community activity for someone who has a passion about political science. And then his essays, say he chose prompt 3 for the Common App, which is about challenging a belief. So challenging a belief in politics through this organized student march. See how that connects to one of his activities that he did in high school. And he could talk about how he just believed something wasn't right and wanted to march, and how he showed leadership and tenacity going through that process. His supplemental essays could be something like his passion for entrepreneurship, how he wants to develop a career in politics or business, and his service experience of volunteering in local campaigns. So here you can also see the activities and essays once again align with the themes, and they create this cohesive story of Chris as a student. Okay, our last student, Brandon here, has passions for football, medicine, and kids. So these are his themes, and let's see how his activities align. So for football, let's see, he was varsity football for 4 years, state championship, right? If you're doing something, if you're doing an extracurricular activity, you want to make sure you're doing it well. So here, we see consistency in his extracurricular activity of football, and how he is really taking leadership on the team. And then organized a football fundraiser to spread awareness about child obesity. This is a great activity because it connects all 3 of his themes. So if you can embark on an extracurricular activity this summer that's going to connect all 3 of your themes, that's amazing. For me, that was something like teaching summer workshops in the community based on education. So that connected my theme of education, entrepreneurship, and service all in one, right? This would be an example of how he's connecting his theme of football, medicine, and kids all in one. So for medicine, some activities that he could report: shadowing with a local pediatrician, great opportunity if you're in medicine, if you're interested in medicine, a medical summer program he did, and president of his local HOSA club at his school, once again showing leadership. And then for kids, a camp counselor for a kids summer camp, basic job that you can get, not even a job, but even just a volunteer opportunity, organized a kids football pickup game to raise money for St. Jude. I think that is once again, great opportunity that's going to connect all 3 of his themes and really show the college's ambition and leadership. Okay, his Common App essay, prompt 4, let's say he chose that one, and talks about organizing the football fundraiser for charity and how that was really a personal turning point for him and was a moment of personal growth for him. I personally chose prompt 4, but whatever prompt you want to choose, just make sure you can write it well, as we talked about in the last module. Supplemental essays, he could talk about dreams of becoming a pediatrician, which he started to have after shadowing with a pediatrician, overcoming challenges with football. That would be a great way to show tenacity. And then a mission of serving children through medicine, which once again connects to his worldly mission, his purpose, and what he really wants to do with his life. Okay, and then the last step here is to condense your story into 1 to 2 sentences. So this really brings it all in so that we have a concise mission statement and we're clear on our story and what we want the college admissions officer to know about us. So my statement, I'm going to read this here, is I am a Black female teenage entrepreneur who has combined my passion for education, entrepreneurship, and service to create my tutoring company, Janae Plus Tutoring. In the future, I aspire to pursue a career in marketing where I can help encourage diversity in the business world. So this connects my 3 themes of education, entrepreneurship, and service, and also talks about what I want to do in the future and how I want to have an impact on this world. And I encourage you to model your mission statement the same, and we are going to have a worksheet in the links for this module that's going to help you do that as well. That's part of the activities for this module. And this really wraps it all in. It helps you get clear on your mission and your story, and really just create a cohesive application that is going to blow the admissions officers away.
Hey guys, my name is Greg and I am a rising junior at Princeton. You might recognize my face from YouTube. Today I am super excited to be joining you on the 2019 Ivy Mastermind course. Today I want to talk to you about my college application process and how I decided what my major and minor themes of my application were. Now, I'm really lucky that I worked hard on defining these themes in my application, because otherwise I truly don't think I would have been accepted to several Ivy League schools, including my dream school, Princeton University. So to help you understand what activities I was doing and how I broke up my application into different themes, I'm gonna rewind for a second back to my freshman year of high school. At the beginning of my freshman year, I already had my sights set on Princeton. So when the school's annual activities fair came around near the beginning of the year, little freshman me decided it was a good idea to sign up for as many clubs as I possibly could, because I had heard from a few friends and family members that colleges really love students who do lots and lots of activities. Long story short, I did way too much freshman year. I was on the school's track team, I was on mock trial, I performed in the fall play and the spring musical, I volunteered with a soup kitchen on the weekends, I was part of my high school's a cappella group, I was part of China Club, and I was studying both Spanish and Chinese in school while trying to learn German at home with my mom. So this was not healthy or sustainable, and I sort of learned it the hard way. I realized by the end of my freshman year, I was pretty much just going through the motions of every activity that I was a part of, and I wasn't able to fully commit or invest in any of them. I realized that in mock trial, for example, I would show up but I wouldn't participate all that much. In my a cappella group, my voice was sore because I was not giving it the proper rest that it needed. So I decided that it was time to quit some stuff. Halfway through sophomore year, I dropped the track team because I really wanted to commit more time to the fall play and spring musical and try to get really big parts in those shows. I stopped volunteering with the soup kitchen because, first of all, it conflicted with mock trial and was making my performance suffer, and second of all, I really wasn't connected with the work I was doing. I wanted to give back to my community, but I wanted to do it in a way that I enjoyed doing it. I also stopped studying Spanish, and I put the studying German on hold so that I could fully dedicate my foreign language learning to just Chinese. And doing this actually eventually allowed me to go on a summer program in China. Now, because I had this realization so early on, and in sophomore year I was already able to cut out the things I didn't really care about, for me it was very easy to divvy up my application into different themes. I decided on two major themes. These themes were Chinese language and culture and musical performance. My minor themes, so to speak, were public speaking and entrepreneurship. Now, obviously, I didn't just pick these themes arbitrarily. Each of these themes was supported by certain activities that I was doing in school. Now, let me walk you through each of these themes and tell you which of the activities I was doing support those themes. For the Chinese language and culture theme, first of all, colleges could see that I had taken 4 years of Chinese in high school. Also, I took various national Chinese tests, which I listed under the award section. And finally, I noted my participation in the China Club in the activity section of the Common App, and I described my summer in Shenyang, China, on multiple college applications in the essay section. I also listed several activities that had to do with my musical performance theme. First off, I listed that I was the president of my school's a cappella group. I also mentioned that I was on the theater board and had been lots of large roles in both the fall plays and the spring musicals. And lastly, I also brought up that I founded a street performance club at my high school in my senior year. I also had a few awards from vocal competitions that I had participated in. Now, the activities I just shared with you were pretty much 80% of the activities on my common application. Now, when you're divvying up your application into different themes, I think about 80% of the activities that you list in that section should have something to do with one of your 2, maybe 3 major themes. It's important to note that top colleges are looking for a well-rounded class, not a class of 2,000 well-rounded students. You really have to have your 2 or 3 major passions that are going to separate you from the rest of the crowd. If you show colleges that you dedicate the majority of your time to just a few activities that you really want to master, you instantly boost your admissions chances by a lot. Now, for the most part, the activities I listed for my major themes overlapped a lot with some of the activities that I used to support my minor themes as well. For example, for my public speaking minor theme, I listed my participation in mock trial, which is very similar to acting, performing on stage, theater, all that good stuff. For this theme, I also listed a few awards I had gotten in public speaking contests. The activities I used to support my entrepreneurship theme also overlap a lot with my musical performance major theme. For example, the Street Performance Club I was just talking about actually had an entrepreneurial aspect to it as well. When we went out to the streets of Philadelphia to perform on the streets, we stood next to this sign explaining the mission of the Give the Gift of Music Foundation, and we asked passerby for donations, and while they were listening to the music, we had people hand out flyers and talk to the audience about that mission. So I use this activity for both themes. You see, it's not mutually exclusive. You can have themes that overlap, and in fact you should, because that shows that overall these themes, when you zoom out, tell the story of one unique person, which is you. Another thing I talked about under my entrepreneurship theme is a fundraiser that I held actually in my backyard for my local theater when they weren't doing too well. Now, this was a theater where I took my first acting class and first got interested in theater, so it was a very passionate story to tell on my college essays about how I gave back to my community. And it had to do with musical performance as well as entrepreneurship. Now let's get to the essays. In my common application essay, I actually tied in this poem that my grandma used to read to me when I was little with my interest in theater. To demonstrate to the admissions committee how committed I was to musical theater, I reiterated some of the activities related to music and theater from my activities section. And I also included the part about my grandma and the poems that she used to read to me, to make it a little more human and to allow them to get an insight into someone who's very important to me. In my Princeton-specific essay, and in several other essays that I wrote for other colleges, I actually compared and contrasted my experience growing up with a German mother with my experience living with a host family in China. Basically, I touched a lot on my Chinese language and culture main theme, and also my general interest in exploring new cultures and understanding people. Now, if I had to come up with one concise statement to summarize my whole application, it wouldn't be too hard because I actually have all of these themes now lined up. So let me go ahead and give you an example statement that would work for my application. I am a German-American actor, singer, and performer with a vested interest in exploring new cultures, characters, and stories. I am constantly working to be more compassionate and utilize my entrepreneurial mind and performance skills to tell the stories of those whose voices are not yet heard. I really like that statement because it encompasses all of my themes. I touch on my interest in musical performance and theater and public speaking. I also talk about my interest in learning about new cultures and entrepreneurship. Lastly, I really make a statement about how I want to make a social impact in the world. That is a big tip that I actually have for all of you guys. In one of your major or minor themes, I really recommend that you either talk about diversity or social impact of some sort. Today, many top universities are very compassionate and forward-thinking institutions who really value students who are able to look past just themselves and want to contribute to something greater. That is partly why I highlighted my interest in new cultures and my entrepreneurial social impact spirit so much in my college applications. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really hope you got an insight into how I view my college application, how I was able to divvy it up into different small themes, and I hope that you're able to do the same thing for your application to make it stand out. Thanks, and enjoy the rest of the course.
After going through these 5 steps, I hope you have a better idea of what your story is. Remember that your voice is important and your story is valuable. The homework for this module will be to write a rough draft of your common application essay. Don't be scared. I want this draft to be rough, but I will give you edits on how to make it your best essay. The instructions for how to submit this to me can be found in the notes for this module, and I can't wait to read your essay. The worksheets for this module focus on the 5 steps that we talked about in the presentation and help you center in on the most important details of your story. Remember to message me with any questions that you have, and if I don't talk to you this week, I'll see you in Module 3.